about this, really the most effective methods we have for improving behavior. Probably just keep moving the thing down here. So is really using positive effective behavior support and how to make your life easier. So those are the three things we're going to. The third one is the power of teaching expectations, being positive, and then reinforcing the expected behavior. So I want you to think about this first one. So if you could describe a great bus ride for your students, what would that look like? I want you to think about it for a couple of minutes, maybe seconds. If you could describe a great bus ride for your students, what would that look like? This was just about what would be a good bus ride for your students. What would you describe it as?
Well, I think it's both the students and me. They get on the bus and they find their seat promptly. They would sit seat to seat, back to back. They would use indoor voices, and they'd be the only ones that would get up to their bus stops when it was time to go home.
Okay. So kids being able to feel comfortable, happy on the bus is kind of what I'm hearing, and safe. It's kind of what I've heard so far. Yeah.
Kids in their seat and no arguing,
That's just pause on that thought. That sounds great. Someone? Okay, so we kind of have the picture. Hold that picture in your mind. That's what we're going for. So what would it take for you to make both happen on your bus?
miracle.
Yes.
Well, I'm a cover driver, and so every day my route might be different. So you can really tell who's actually worked with their students and who hasn't worked with their students. And the two things I have found this year is the kids that don't wait for the crossing and they cross, which terrifies me, because I've had several run right in front of vehicles. And the other ones, like yesterday, I held up traffic for a number of minutes because the kids could not find places to sit down. And so I think the drivers working with the students, because you never know who's going to sub for each other or we cover each other's routes or something, that would be good. It comes from our teaching of the kids, so that would make it happen for us. If we had the time, because sometimes we just really don't have the time to go through the teaching. And I think that's where we fall short, is because we don't have time. It's very, very busy.
Right, and that's really true. So when you do have that, like the time, like when they're loading at the school or something like that, those are those golden moments when you wait for the kids to get on the bus and all the rest to get there. That's your time to kind of do any kind of little minutes of or snippets of teaching that you can. And teachers say this all the time. You're not very different from teachers in the way they say it. So it's kind of like front loading. We got to front load, and we've got to really teach that until they get it. And then once they do, it's going to be better for them and for you as a bus driver on the bus. So I want you to think about, like, what problems do you face regularly? I don't know what the problem is. What's the kind of problem? Talking?
Yes, loud talking,
So
excitement.
loud. So loud, excited talking.
Yes.
Okay, and the pattern is?
It's emotions, I guess.
And what's the pattern? Is there a pattern to it?
The pattern, I think,
Every
would
week, every
be
day?
that they're separated and then they come back together. That's all they really want to do is talk about their day.
Okay. So the pattern is they're friends and they want to connect.
Yes.
Okay, so it's not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing.
What's concerning is the loud, is the
The
volume.
excitement level of their,
Is the
because they're
volume.
kids.
They want to be excited, but it's
Yes.
not loud, right? So it's loud's the
Yes.
issue, and the time is both,
PM.
is PM.
Yeah.
All right, who else has?
To add to what she says, what makes it a problem is they all come back together, and then the ones sitting in the front of the bus are running to talk to the ones in the back of the bus. So they're turning around and leaning over the seats and yelling at the
Hey,
friends in the back of the
Rhonda,
bus.
did you hear? Yeah.
Because they don't want to wait to talk to those people that are 7 or 8 seats away.
Okay, all right, another one. Most regular, typical ones you have. Standing while the bus is moving.
Yes.
Okay. And so do they stand the whole way, or they just pop up and stand, or stand to yell, or?
They change seats while you're there.
Okay, so this one, okay, who else has staying seated as one of their top 3 issues? Staying seated. Okay. Staying seated and facing forward.
I have such a problem with one of my schools. I spend more time looking in the mirror than I spend looking up where I'm going.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
it's very
that's
dangerous,
concerning.
and I've tried to explain to them. And then the kids look at you and they go, I'm listening.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you get them to quiet down in the classroom and stay quiet? How's that?
Well,
That goes back to what you said with respect.
it's about teaching it, and it's about teaching it. And teachers, I mean, I'll just give you a quick example. You know, with 600 kids in an assembly, and I don't have this big booming voice and no mic. So we had to practice this. So I used a attention-getting signal that, you know, they could see my lips move, but they could see this, all 680 kids. So in a cafeteria. So we practiced it, and it was annoying, and it took up some time. But you just have to do it. It's just, you know, for you, it's critical, it's safety. For me, it was like we needed to have something efficient so we could have a presentation, or the orchestra was going to play for us, or something was going to happen. So I would say, may I have your attention? The first 3 rows probably heard me, but everybody could see this. And then they would get quiet and they couldn't hear me. Or I'd say, we're going to try it again. That's probably about a 3, and we've done it 5 before. Let's try it again. Go back and talk. They were talking, I said, may I have your attention? It would be like, snap. We had to practice at it, and they got really good. So there are times you have to, you know, you have to figure out what's going to work for you and do that. And I know you don't have, I mean, I didn't have a day to practice with my kids. It was like, you know, a minute or 2. That's all we really had to kind of do something like that. And I know you don't, you know, I didn't have all those kids in my class, but it was a lot of kids, just like you have a lot of kids. I know the context is different, you're moving. But the few minutes that you can take to practice with your kids on anything is really going to have big payoffs. So let's move forward. So this, to kind of validate again what you're telling us, is that in a survey that happened from Ranger Spring at the University of Oregon, 300 bus drivers, this is the problems as far as frequency. Moving out of seat, 68%. So you're validated with that. Noise and rowdiness, 64%. Rude or disrespectful, 43%. Matching up. And then fighting or hitting, 39%. So it's quantified. You're not crazy. It does happen. And we do know it. We do need to kind of figure out how to kind of do the best we can, knowing that this is the context that you have every day. So the challenges, every school does face, you know, a lot of these challenges. You're not alone. Unsafe behavior, disrespect to students and adults, and not acting in a responsible manner. So we can meet these challenges, and actually you have met the challenges. In 2010, 11, at the beginning of the year, you had over 281 bus referrals. And then by the end of that year, it went down to 112 after we started doing PBIS on the bus. And that's with the schools teaching the lessons, and with using the positive reinforcements for the behavior, not just passing them out like candy, like, hey, you all have smiles on your face today, everybody gets a bus buck. It's not how you should be using them. We're going to talk about that next week more. And then the correction system, how you kind of do that. Because the teachers were teaching the lessons, and you were working with that too. So that's a 26% decrease, and then a 43% decrease even the next year. And then look where we are, 2012 and 13. So really nice. That's a really nice trend. So how many people would like to go back and have this year? Not me. But you want at least that and have it continuing to go down. Now the 13-14 school year data is almost mirrors this exactly alike. The reason we didn't put it up there that there were 2 schools who didn't put their data in correct, or into the right source, and so we don't have that, you know, perfectly the way we wanted it. I mean, as far as like reporting. So, but it really almost completely mirrors what the 12-13 year was. So we do have data. It's not like we're making it up. It's like what really happened. So why the reduction? Is that the clear expectations, what we expect of kids was really clear. We started that in 2010-11, and you got to be clear about, here's what it looks like to wait for the bus, here's what it's like to get on the bus, here's what it looks like to ride the bus, here's what it looks like to exit the bus. All those different expectations were taught at all the schools in all the buses. And the teachers are still teaching those lessons today. They've already taught them this school year, and based on the data, you know, Katie's kind of one too that will be kind of monitoring that and finding out, well, we're having kind of a rise here. We might need to go back to the schools and have them reteach something. And we also know when kind of difficult times in the year are. Like, you know, I don't have to tell you, the week before spring break is an ugly week. And we all go, oh my gosh. Or, you know, the day of Halloween or before, there's all kinds of ones that we sit down and commiserate over Valentine's Day. And we just know they're coming. So those are days too that we can maybe even ask teachers to pre-correct and maybe teach the lesson again before that day. That would be awesome. That might be something we think about doing. And again, Katie's going to be the person that we can talk to about that. So what the drivers say about this is that after doing it for several years, this is what you said after the first year and a half, treat each child as an individual, create relationships. I cannot emphasize this more. I just can't. It's so powerful. Teachers too. You know, you just have to develop a relationship with your kids, particularly with the ones who drive you crazy. Particularly with those kids. You might be the only, besides your teacher, the only positive adult that might be in their life. Who knows? It's really powerful. And then use your bus stop strategically and often. Be fair. Be consistent. So important messages. This is so powerful to know. This is the same way. Teachers and you set the environment and the culture of your bus. But I do want you to think about prevention. If you know Katie is your biggest challenge on the bus every day, I'm going to think anything I can to do to try to prevent her behavior. I know she's going to get on, she's going to try to do this, so I'm going to think some ways that I can try to interrupt or to prevent that behavior. And you need to use the same language all the time with the kids, as they do in the schools, to shape, yes, to shape and encourage the behavior that we all really want from our kids. So using that language. So what we've learned about behavior, it is learned.